Hey everybody, my name is Michael Ricketson, and the graphic novel that I'm going to take a look at is Archangel by William Gibson. It was actually published in 2017. The story takes place in 2016 though, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Creative team, and I apologize, my scanner is not working right very well, so got to do it this way. Well, that's messing the camera up, isn't it? Alright, anyway, writer is William Gibson with Michael St. John Smith. Art is Butch Gucci, Alejandro Barrenuevo, Wagner Reese. Ink is Tom Palmer and Butch Gucci. Colors by Diego Rodriguez and Wes Ziabo. And lettering is Sean Lee and Gilbert Liscano. Publisher is IDW Publishing, and it is 147 pages long. This graphic novel is actually was originally a limited series, so I'm assuming there were 5 because there's 5 chapters in it. Now we won't talk about chapters. So for the purpose of our 3-act structure, in my opinion, the first act ends on page 7, Act 2 begins on page 8, and Act 2 ends on page 113. And as far as the story, whose story it is, seems to be 2 characters. 2 characters in here. Major Torres, she's stuck in 2016, that's her. She's in a wheelchair. And the other one, let's say I say there seems to be 2, and the other one is the pilot. You can see right there, he's saying, "I'm the pilot." And that's the only name he's ever given in the book, is the pilot. So so it seems like those are the 2 protagonists. Now, as far as like character arcs go, there really didn't seem to be any, and that's why I was really disappointed. It seems to be just a completely plot-driven story. There's like no change to Torres or the pilot. The only one we see is the pilot at the end, at the very end. But there was really no change in them. So there was really no character arc. There was a pretty good story arc, and I'm just going to hold this up because sorry. As far as the story arc goes, it's a really good story. It has a solid story arc with a clearly defined goal, and it's about time travel and alternate timelines. And I'm a really big fan of the stories like that. I really like the story. However, the ending was just too cliche. Okay. I think I missed something. Did I miss something? Right. Oh yeah. The goal is to prevent a plan to redirect the atomic bomb that dropped on Nagasaki during World War II. Their goal is to redirect that bomb to Archangel in Russia. It's a location in Russia, and that's where Stalin and like pretty much all of the Russian government was supposed to be. I didn't do the research because I'm assuming it's pretty historically accurate. But like I said, it's got a pretty solid story arc. They do succeed in the end, but Major Torres redirected. Instead of going to Archangel, she directed it to Washington, so Washington was destroyed. And the reason I didn't like the ending is because at the end, it's obvious what happened when they changed everything, that they allowed the Nazis to win World War II. And I've just seen a whole bunch of stories, alternate timeline. I think there was a TV show years ago called, I think it was Jumpers or Sliders. And there was an episode where, because something was changed in the past, the Nazis took control of America. So flash forward to the future, so I was just hoping for something a little different. I really liked the story. It was great. I just didn't like that ending part. Now, as far as transitions, because it was like a time travel alternate timeline, they did a pretty good job of letting us know where, when the story jumps. Like the very first page here, you say it's February 2016. You can't really see that. Anyways, February 2016, Tokyo, Moscow, London, and then Snake Mountain in Montana. The artwork is pretty good. I mean, you can see in here because something happens in 2016 that causes the U.S. to actually launch all of its nuclear missiles around the world. Or no, I'm sorry, that's not how it went. They had buried nuclear warheads in different cities around the world as like a backup plan, and through something happening, the launch codes get hacked, and so all those bombs all over the world go off, and it's the United States' fault. So like time and place, and then a little bit further on, this is when they first jump back to 1945. They let you know up front here, the Pentagon, February 1945. And the way I understood McLeod's explanation of transitions, has to do with the way. It has to do with each panel and moving into the next panel. Does the next panel flow with the previous, and that determines how much the reader basically has to fill in for themselves between panels. I mean, that's what I got from McLeod's idea of transitions. And so one example in here. You see down here, Major Torres is blowing up the tunnels to get to the control room, and it just starts out right there. She says, "We mined the tunnels." It shows a thing in her hand, and then she clicks it, and then obviously rumble, everything's blowing up. To me, that was a good transition. You can see in the first panel, you can see she's got something in her hand. The next panel shows that her clicking the thing. And I had another one in here. Here we go. All right, this is another one. They're back in 1945, and this page right here, one of the English scientists found a piece of plastic that was in one of the guys that came back in time, and this guy's the bad guy, but anyway, he's in her laboratory. And so anyway, the tall panel, they're obviously in her laboratory, and he's got the sample, and as you can see, he drops it. So that's my understanding of transitions that he was talking about in McLeod's book. As far as the mini comic, I mean, there were a bunch of them in here, but I liked this one, this page. Well, it's actually both pages are really, because it's part of the same scene. It's two different pages, and the second one, you can there's no, in this page, there's no dialogue at all, just sound effects. But that all carries over from this page, and then you go back to this page, and you go back up to this page, and like I said, there's no, and then that last panel, she's jumping to avoid the bazooka. I'm assuming that's what it was. Anyway, she's jumping to avoid that, and obviously she's jumping to the right, so you got to turn the page to the right. Oh wait, I had another example. No, that was, yeah, there's my other example. It's kind of the same thing, the one page starting to the next page. It's all one scene, but the pilot's fighting with a guy, and there's a little fly right here, and they had sent flies back, mechanical flies. So anyway, this is an example of it. Goes over here, and then the next page over here, and this was a good one right here. There's ellipses at the bottom there, and then her dialogue carries over into the next page. And for the most part, the pages and the panels and text were they were simply arranged and easy to follow. Most of the pages were really simple square and rectangular panels. There were some pages where they got a little creative, but for the most part it was just strictly very simple panel layout, so it really wasn't hard to follow at all. Like I said, there were a few pages that had some crazy panel shapes going on, but I would recommend this to my classmates. I would also recommend it to my friends, even though, like I said, I didn't like the ending. It was just so cliche. I love time travel, alternate reality, alternate timeline stuff. Big Star Trek fan because I do a lot of that. But when it comes to like World War II time travel stuff, they're always trying to fix something, but they always screw it up, and the Nazis always get control in the very end because everybody's in America speaking German. And it really kind of ticked me off. I mean, like I said, I like the story. It's a really good story. It's just, man, come on, come up with something a little better than the Nazis taking over America or than winning World War II. That just, other than that, like I said, it was a great story, great artwork, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody. Thanks. Look forward to seeing the rest of y'all's videos.